Welcome back to another episode of Dear Single Mama Podcast. I am your host and founder, Clarion Brown, and I'm so excited to have you back. Welcome, old friends, and welcome, new friends. I'm so excited about this episode on today. Today is just strictly a candid conversation. I literally have no questions, I literally have no notes. We are just going to chat. I have a friend of mine with me. Her name is Monica Rodriguez, a fellow temporary single mother like myself, and we are just doing this thing called life together. Welcome, Monica. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited to just be here and just have a conversation with you.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So you have two boys, 6 and 8.
I do. Yes, I have two boys. Yeah, they're 6 years old and 8 years old. So like first grade and second grade, and I'm
Yeah.
homeschooling them also.
Nice. Okay, okay. So how is that okay, random question, right? So
Yeah.
I have a 2-year-old and we are in the process of potty training, and like it is so interesting to me. Like he just looks around and the little thing just well, not his thing, his penis just will pop up and just start moving. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, like what's going on? Like, did you have that with your two boys? Because you have two boys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have two boys, so I know all about all about all about that. It's a
Yeah.
different navigation. I have friends who have girls, and I'm just like, it's totally different. I have to clean my bathroom 10 times more.
Yeah. Oh, now now that they're older.
Oh yeah, they're older, but there's not accidents, but there's, accidents.
Yeah, it's just going all over the place. Like I'm like, whoa, like what's happening here? Like, so
Yep.
like, can you remember like what are some things that you did with your boys for like potty training?
Yeah. People told me to use Cheerios in the toilet
Hmm.
to like aim.
Oh,
Yeah. So
yeah,
that was a thing. And then yeah, with both of them, they had just like they just had potty seats, and we would just put it wherever they were. My oldest, they're a little bit less than 2 years apart. So my
hmm,
oldest, I did potty train him, but then when my youngest came along, he kind of like reverted back. So I had to like train him twice,
yeah,
it was fun.
yeah. I bet that was totally interesting.
Yeah, it was really fun. I loved it. I mean, but I did have two in diapers. So the
Yeah,
the diaper bag was full of two, training pants and diapers, and then I was
right.
crazy and I cloth diapered for a portion
Oh,
of, yeah, when
yeah,
they're, because I'm balling on a budget. So
right.
it was we didn't use them. I mean, I say me, I didn't use them all the time, but it was
Yeah.
really nice when, those diapers ran out and I had something.
Right, right, the cloth diapers. Yeah, because those are the ones, like, you just put in the washing machine and just wash, right?
Yeah. And I did it
Yeah.
when they were really small, so it wasn't as, they get older and it gets grosser.
Yeah. Yes. I remember, like, I think it was, like, what was it, like, last week, I think, my son, and he's in, like, pull-ups right now, he pooped, and it was, like, all up his back and stuff, and I was so upset, I'm not even gonna lie, I was so
Oh,
mad. I
yeah.
was like, "You should be on the potty, I have to clean this up," and it
Yeah,
was just, like, starting to get everywhere, like, some had got on the bed, and I was like, "Now you just have to get in the tub." Like, I was
yeah,
so mad, like, I'm like, "What are we doing here?"
I know. And I feel like that just doesn't really end. Like, I feel it's so bad because I hate when I get like upset about very normal kid things, but it
Yeah.
is that thing of like, okay, we know better than this. Come on now, little sir. Like,
Yeah.
you know better.
That is funny. Lord help me. So you're saying it may only get worse.
I mean, yeah, it gets better, but it's there's still a level of mess that we have to clean up. But my
Yeah.
boys are 6 and 8 now, so like I tell them, if you make a mess, you have to clean it up now. So if you
Right.
cannot handle yourself in the bathroom, like, and you're doing whatever, then you have to clean it up. So they're
Yeah.
learning that now that they're a little bit older.
Yeah, yeah. It's so interesting. That's so funny. So, Monica, so like where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Northern California. So
Okay.
I was born and raised there. I went to a ministry school there at a church called Bethel Church, and I
Mhm.
went to their ministry school. And then right after that, after I finished first year with them, I met my ex-husband. And
Mhm.
then we were married, and then we moved, and then we moved here to the Midwest, which is where I live now. And I've
Okay.
been here in Missouri. Um, since 2013 when my oldest son was born. So it's been
Okay.
an adventure. It's very different. It was a big culture shock, but
Yeah.
it's very, very different here. I
I
mean, I
bet.
like it now. There was a large part of when I first moved here that I was not happy to be here, but
Mhm.
I like it now. I've met people and a great church and community, and especially because I moved here with my husband at the time,
Yeah.
and then I became a single mom while I was
Mm.
already here. So I've, been able to meet people and get into community as a single mom. So
Yeah, yeah, totally. So how was that like transition for you? You know, you were married, and if you don't mind me asking, how
yeah.
long were you and your ex-husband married? And can you just kind of tell us what that transition was like, going from married to now being, a single mom again?
Yeah, yeah. So I got married in 2011. And then we moved, and
Hmm.
uh I was married for 5 years total.
Okay.
Um we moved to when I first got married, I moved to Alabama
Hmm.
randomly. I wanted to be
Yeah.
a Southern belle. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was really obsessed with sweet tea at the time. Um, and we had friends there, just mutual friends that I had known in ministry school. And so we moved there. And then I got pregnant with my first son. And then we moved to Missouri. And his family moved here too from California. And we moved to Missouri. We moved to Kansas. There was a lot of transition in our entire marriage. I had two
Yeah.
kids in 2 years. I think we figured it out. I think we lived in like, I don't even know, like, 4 states or something in our
Hmm.
5 years of being married, like 7 houses. We lived with family. It was just a
Yeah.
lot. And we're, a young family with really young kids.
Hmm.
When I moved here, I had nobody. My family all still lived in California. I, of course, had my ex husband's family, but I had no friends. I didn't
Yeah.
work at the time. I was a stay at home mom. And I grew very resentful and bitter. And I own that part of my
Mm.
story.
Mhm.
Um, and we weren't in church. It was just a lot. And my ex husband made some choices that led his heart away from the marriage.
Yeah.
And that was in 2016. And it was very fast. It was a very fast divorce. I left the house in March of 2016. I went to
Mhm.
be with family in California just to figure out what we were going to do. I was
Yeah,
very, and
yeah.
I've shared this a lot in my story, I was very for redemption and reconciliation of my marriage. I was very much
Mm.
believing that's what the Lord was going to do, that he was going
Yeah,
to do a mighty work.
yeah.
And it was going to be reconciled. And I went to California for 2 months, and when I came back, I was served with the divorce papers.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
and that was June of 2016. So it was just a few short months after he told me that he wanted a divorce, and it just went really fast after that. I was legally
Yeah.
divorced in September of that same year,
Mhm.
and he welcomed a son, and he got married in December of 2016. So it was very, very
No.
quick.
Yeah.
It forced me to heal, um, kind of
Mm.
hyperdrive out. That's how I word it. Is like it was like hyperdrive. It
Yeah.
felt like my ex-husband had uh, ripped my heart out, stomped it on the
Mhm.
ground, dragged it through the mud, and then put it on display for everybody to like and comment on, just because of
Yeah.
what social media is. And then at the
Right.
same time, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they have a new brother. And what does that look like? And how do I'm the one
Yeah.
who's representing Jesus, right? So
Yeah.
how do I honor their stepmother at this point,
Mm.
their brother and everybody else involved. So I had to learn a lot, and I made mistakes. Like I did
Yeah.
not do the whole thing as perfectly gracefully as I could have, but through that I got to meet other single mom friends. It was wonderful because I came home and immediately got plugged into a single mom ministry here locally where I live. So
Yeah.
I didn't really have to walk the single motherhood journey alone for
For
long.
too long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I am so, so thankful for. And something I'm very passionate about is just making sure that single moms are connected into community, even if it's online community, just that they
Yeah.
don't feel alone, that they can look up to other single moms, temporary single moms like yourself, like to see like we can do this, and we can do this
Yeah.
together, and we get stronger in it. Not that we chose this life. I always say, like, I did not choose it. Like I said, I thought God
Right.
was going to reconcile it.
Yeah.
But sometimes reconciliation looks different, and sometimes it looks like
Mm-hmm.
we were being restored back to our Father in heaven. um
Mm.
and my story's not done. Like it's
Yeah.
not
Right.
it's not done. And I think that God hates divorce. I hate divorce. But
Mm-hmm.
God will step in to save his daughters. And that's what I felt like the Lord did in that time. So, and now it's been 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's been a journey just with that and raising my boys. And I do co-parent with my ex-husband, but yeah, we're learning and processing and constantly transitioning and grieving, and it's beautiful and messy all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's such a powerful story. And yeah, you guys did transition a lot. Was your ex-husband military, if you don't mind me asking?
No,
If you
no,
don't
you
mind
can
sharing.
ask. No, he wasn't. We just moved a lot. His
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
got involved with a church here in the Midwest. And
Mm-hmm.
so we kind of were following along with that. And now
Nice.
both of us have been here in the Midwest since 2013. And there's been like talks of like, would we ever move back to California? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, because he has a son here, and he would never leave his kids, which I'm very thankful for. But
Yeah.
um yeah, it was just I think we just I, I think there was a lot of issues, like unresolved issues with him and with me. And it was that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing that we felt like, I don't know, like it was circumstantial, or it was like location. Like, oh, if we just moved, it would be better. So we just
It'll
kept
be
trying to
better.
move to find this inner peace that, you can't run away from yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's really good. So like after all of that happened and although you wanted to reconcile things, did you have this anger or this bitterness towards God and was like, why did this even happen? I never thought I'd be at the place. I mean, because of course nobody gets married to say, well, one day I'm going to get a divorce, you know? You expect that this is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Did you have those feelings? Did you have, like those thoughts?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
like I I I didn't have those exact thoughts. And I think it's cuz I grew up like in my childhood I grew up in a very broken home. Um there was a lot of abuse and addiction in my home. And
Mm,
so it gave me the opportunity to learn God's goodness and God's grace, and that
mm,
we live in a fallen world, and God does allow things, but he doesn't cause things. So I never had this thing of like, oh, like God,
God did it.
yeah, like God did this and
Yeah.
I'm so mad. I was very obviously angry towards my ex-husband
Mm-hmm.
and the choices that he made, but
Yeah.
I never turned it against God. I did, like, true transparency. I like turned it against
Mm-hmm.
myself, like, you should have known, girl. Like, think
Yeah.
about our dating. You know what I mean? Like, it was like all of these realizations from dating him of like, oh, that was a red flag. Oh,
Mm,
that's something to pay attention to, which is
mm,
learning opportunities for me now as I'm dating, in my 30s and with two kids. I'm like, okay, I know little red flags to pay attention to.
right.
I always just felt like I didn't fully understand, but I knew that God was taking care of me, and my children. And
Yeah,
I um I never want to speak negatively against my ex-husband.
of course.
But neither one of us were in a healthy place. And that's why I
Mm,
say, like, he allowed things to happen, like the Lord allowed things to happen so that I could come to a healthy place, so I could raise my children as a
yeah.
healthy mom.
Man,
So,
that's amazing. I think that that's really good. I think that often of the times we just kind of, and I'm totally not saying that you did this, but we can kind of see those red flags because I even put myself out there. I did that. I would notice these little red flags and I'll be like,
oh,
okay, this one, oh, okay, well, maybe he'll change. And
yeah,
then
oh
I
yeah.
heard a pastor say her name was Reverend Kathy Cuna, um, and she said don't marry potential. You
Mm,
never want to marry potential. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And, I'm kind of paraphrasing what she said, but she pretty much said that potential that won't change.
right,
How do you know that he will change? And you're hoping and believing that he will change. And when he doesn't change, now you're upset. Now
right,
you're, resentful, and now you're married, and now you're in this whole whirlwind that's like crazy because you married potential. And so, like, even like one of the things that I would do, I would always ask somebody, and I've been told that it's maybe too much too early, but I don't care. Like, when I have kids in this situation, you have to ask the hard stuff
oh,
first. And
100%.
I can find out your favorite color later. Like, let's get
Thank you.
like straight to the hard stuff.
Yes.
Like, what's your past like? Are your parents still married? Are your parents still living? What type of household did you grow up in?
Yeah.
I ask those questions because that'll let me know. Well, I can easily, and this has happened before. I can easily point out, oh, he has an anger management issue, and I've been able to point that out in the beginning. So had I been able to continue to date that person, oh, that would have came out, and I would have been in somebody's jail because you thought you was gonna try with me, but we not even getting ready to do that. And
Yes.
so yeah, so it's like, man, like we just don't. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. I told a guy a couple months ago on a date, and I know it sounded rude, but I didn't mean it rude. But I said on the date, I was like, I don't really care what your hobbies are. And he was
yeah,
like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't really care. I want to know when your last relationship was and what you learned from it. And then
yeah,
I explained to him, I was like, cool. You like to play golf? That's fine. I don't, that's not important. What's important
right,
is, what have you learned, or, whatever the question is. Because yeah, I can learn about your color later on.
yeah,
But
totally.
especially being a single mom and dating, um,
Hmm.
I do have limited time and I have
Right.
limited energy, and then I do co-parent, so I do have weekends free.
Yeah.
But it's 2 weekends and it's not even like a full weekend. But like it's 2 weekends out of the entire month. And
Yeah.
so, and that's also time to catch up with my friends, or work on other projects I'm working on, or just
Hmm.
sleep, like take a
Right.
bath or something, relax.
Right.
So do I want to invest 2 hours out of my time with somebody who is exhibiting red flags, So
Yeah.
I agree. I would rather kind of ask some harder questions up front, to see if it's worth investing. So, and I know not
Yeah.
everybody agrees with that, and that's maybe not for everybody, but I don't think that we should like shy away from the harder conversations.
Right. Yeah. Cause then that's when by the time you get so like into the deeper stuff, you're all googly eyed over this
I
person,
know.
and you're so deep in, it's hard to get out.
Yes. And I'm like
And yeah.
so romantic. Like, oh, I
Hmm.
love love. I go to strangers' weddings, like not like a
Really?
wedding crasher, but like people invite me to weddings and I don't even know the bride and groom or their story. And I'm
Yeah.
like crying at their vows
Yeah.
because I love love. And so I'm like, I know if I can get to a place where I'm like, oh, I'm going to get attached. So,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not a walls thing. It's not like putting walls up or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's just walking in wisdom is what I
Yeah.
say. Like, it's wise to ask, ask those questions. And somebody who's honest, who has fruits of the spirit, like they're going to be okay with answering those questions. Cause I know I would be.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Absolutely, totally. And that's even like one of the things that like I look for. So like totally like so like what are some of your red flags? And then I'm gonna share like some of my red flags. You don't have to go down like the whole list of them,
Yeah.
but just like what are some of yours?
Yeah. I mean, someone who's just really quick to get angry and
Mm-hmm.
like even like I guess frustrated.
Yeah,
Like the food is taking too long and you can just see them getting like really frustrated very easily.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
like always like a red flag. Um
Mm-hmm.
and in like of single dads who like don't really know a lot about their children. Like you ask a
Yeah.
question, they're like, "Oh, that's a good question." Um those are some
Sir,
recent red
sir.
flags I've seen. And somebody who is I had this very recently. He was very noticeably uncomfortable when I talked about my faith. Um just kind of
Red
like,
flag.
yeah, just kind of intimidated, that kind of a thing. I'm like, "Oh, okay, maybe we're just." And I let this guy know like it's no judgment. It's just we're probably not on the same page. But yeah, those are
Yeah,
probably the top ones.
yeah, yeah. So I think some for me would be if he's not under a spiritual covering.
Oh, that's a good
You
one.
can go to church all day long, but I have seen this and I have heard this so many times. There are narcissists in the church.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you could be sitting in the pulpits, but who is your spiritual covering? Because even now, this series that I'm watching by Bishop Alan Cuna, JCC Parklands in Kenya, he's talking about sonship and
Mm.
fathership. And my God, is it blessing me?
Mm.
Like he's talking about like spiritual authority and fathership and sonship and the order of submission. And I mean, my God, it is absolutely blowing me away
Yeah.
right now. And so it's really got me even, I mean, this has always been a red flag of mine, but who is your spiritual authority? Who's keeping you accountable? Things like that. Because if you decide to do X, Y, and Z, well, who's going to hold you accountable to that? Or are you
Yeah.
just out here just doing your own thing? That's one for me. And then I would say another one for me is somebody that would like rush into things too fast.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
It's 1 month in and you're already talking about potentially marriage and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, like all of that. Like that's a total red flag. Like, guy, like, hold on,
Yep.
pause. We want the same thing and that's good, but this is moving way too fast. That's always been a red flag of mine because it's like, well, why are you rushing? You're rushing
Exactly.
for a reason. What's the deeper reason that you're rushing? So yeah,
Right.
it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I explained to a guy recently, like,
Hmm.
I don't give, just like I don't give husband benefits to a boyfriend, I
Yeah.
also don't give boyfriend benefits to somebody I'm just dating or in the talking stage.
Mm.
Because, like dating,
Yeah.
there's so many stages nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the guys I was recently talking to was like, we were talking on the phone and I carved out space to talk to him on the phone. We talked for an hour and a half, which is,
Hmm.
I feel is a long time.
Hmm.
And he was like, "Oh, my son just called me. Can I call you back?" And I was like, "No, I'm actually going to finish watching this show that I'm watching." And he was like, because I was watching a show, I was deep into Sweet Magnolias.
Yeah.
And he was like partially offended, like, "Oh, you're choosing to watch a show like and not talk to me?" And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, because we're just talking." So
Right.
it was like, listen, there's like, and I explained like there's proper boundaries that we have in place. And I think that kind of
Mm.
future talking shouldn't be happening, marriage or even like I've had guys be like, "Oh, you could come to my house and I could cook for you." And I was like, slow down. It's been like one date, like that's boyfriend status. You're still,
Yeah.
we're not there yet, sir.
Yeah.
And it's not, again, it's not walls. It's just walking in wisdom and setting up a proper foundation that we can build upon. Because when we start skipping steps, there's
Yeah.
cracks in our foundation and the house will
Mm.
not stand. So I, am so passionate. I don't want to get divorced again. Clearly, I don't want to put my children through anything like
Yeah.
that ever again, which means I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to the red flags, going at the pace that, the Lord is leading. Cause I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm not going to get engaged, like putting a
Right. Yeah.
time limit on it, but it's just making sure we're on the same page and we're both stepping together. And I love what you
Yeah.
said about accountability, because inviting people into our dating relationship to be accountable to, in our,
Yep.
talking to a guy and having them see things that maybe we don't see, I think is also, important for us as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's really good that those boundaries that you have. I mean, that's really good. And I think that we don't set those up. And I'm not saying, well, some of us, because I don't want to put us all into as for as single moms, put us all into a box. But yeah, I think that that's really good.
Yeah.
And you definitely pointed it out that when you do that, it's cracks in the foundation, and now you see this red flag, and you just gun hold over in love. That's really good. So, what boundaries do you have in place for when you're talking? Because I know you said like you don't talk. So, evidently, when you're in the talking stage, you don't talk to them for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's because I'm so romantic.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, yeah, I have recognized and I'm self-aware of shortcomings. Um,
Mm.
and that has just taken just years and wisdom and accountability and prayer to recognize that. So one of my major boundaries, as a single mom, and this is a personal choice I've made, is
Mhm.
I do not introduce anybody to my children.
Yeah.
So I've
Mhm.
been, I would say, actively, intentionally dating, going out on dates for 5 years, and my
Mhm.
children know nothing. Like they know. In fact, my 6-year-old recently, he's aware of family structure now because he's 6.
Yeah.
And so he's like, Mom, and he has a stepmom, but he's like,
Mhm.
Mom, when are you going to get married? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, we have to pray about that. And he was like, ugh, all you do is pray. Can you just try? And I'm like, little boy, if you knew how many first. I've been on.
Right.
So I keep it very separate. And that's a personal choice, personal boundary. So
Yeah.
nobody ever meets my kids. I also don't talk to, because my boys are older, I don't talk
Mhm.
to men on the phone when they're around. Um,
Mm.
which can be complicated because I have
Yeah.
them most of the time. And like I said, I homeschool them. Um, so I may like go to another room or wait till they're asleep, or something like that. And
Yeah.
that's just because my boys are curious. And so they'll ask,
Yeah.
who are
These
you
kids
talking
are so
to?
smart.
Yeah, who are you talking to? Who's
Yeah.
on the phone? Um, I have a cutoff call time. So I don't
Mm.
talk to guys very late at night.
Mm.
And that's just because inhibitions are down, we're tired.
Yeah.
Um, we just want to make sure that we're, talking with a clear mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then obviously, like, there's like physical boundaries. I don't have men over at my house.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a safety boundary also.
Right. Ooh,
If
child,
I'm
yeah.
going out on a physical date, I always text one of my friends, either like
Mhm.
I let them know where I'm at, I'll send my location. And again, that's a safety thing. Um,
Yeah.
one of the biggest boundaries I've implemented that I now tell everybody to do,
Mhm.
is in the context of online dating. Well, first of all, always, I don't know what it's called anywhere else, but it's CaseNet. It's like checking people's, checking people's, not jail. What's the word? Case
Their
history.
records?
Yes,
Oh,
their
uh-huh,
records.
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I do check their records to see,
Mhm.
is there any assault and battery? Is there any
Yeah.
stalking charges or, anything super extreme?
Yeah.
But in online dating, I always schedule, before a first date, I always schedule a 15-minute FaceTime or,
Hmm.
any other video chat.
Okay.
Again, it doesn't have to be long. But I've actually been able to weed out a lot of guys in the 15-minute
In the
phone
15
calls.
minutes.
Yeah, and
Mm.
I keep it short so it's not super long. So we're not going to run out of things to say like on a date. It's just a quick little like, let's see how our chemistry is. And
Yeah.
um, also like, I'm like, I want you to make sure that you know what I actually look like. Cause I know men are,
Right.
I've had guys be like, are you a catfish? Is this really you?
Yeah.
You know? So just to ease everybody's minds, I'm like, how about a 15-minute call? And yeah, I keep it at 15 minutes. I always have something to do after, and I just let them know, like, oh, well, I have to go. But I don't know. That's been able to like weed out a lot of guys for me. And you get to do it in like the comfort of your home. So those are some boundaries. There's probably more.
No, Monica, I think that those are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that some people will probably say, oh, that's too much. No, it's not. Because actually, even with the location thing, I used to do that same thing, especially like going out with somebody. And one thing I never allowed anybody, at least for the first few dates until I got comfortable, you're not coming to my house to pick you up. I'll meet you.
Yeah.
I have no problem with meeting you if it's dark or if it's nighttime, which typically it is because I wait
Right.
till my kids are asleep and stuff. So if
Right.
it's dark outside, I make sure I park in like a lit area or in the front
Yep.
or anything like that. And then when I did get to that point, something I would do if you were coming to pick me up, I would take a picture of your license plate.
Yeah. Oh,
And like yeah, like people think that that's so extreme, but it's like it's so much going on, especially with where I am in Atlanta. We are one of the hottest cities, one of the biggest cities for sex trafficking. So
yeah.
it's so much going on, and it's like you just have to be safe and aware of that. But I think your boundaries are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, there are, it's a crazy world we live in. Like
Yeah,
I wish, the romantic side of me is like, oh, I wish a guy could pick me up, like,
yeah,
but I agree. Like after the first couple of dates, just getting to know somebody, and then I don't know, and then it's like a fun next step, and
yeah.
that's why I think I've changed my perspective on things. Is I like to tell people like I go into dates with high standards but low
Mm-hmm.
expectations, and
Mm,
it's high standards because I'm looking for somebody who's going to meet my standards, and it's low expectations just because it's not like I expect to have a bad date, because I do,
yeah,
like, I'm still expecting you to treat me with respect and be kind and that kind
right.
of thing. But I go into it with a sense of wonder now, I
Mm-hmm.
think, of like, I'm just meeting another human. So
Yeah.
I take that pressure off. And then what's exciting is like
Mm,
every next step is like an exciting next step, like, so
yeah,
when you do get to a place like you're picking me up, it's like a privilege, because I am a privilege, like
yeah,
I am the prize, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor in the Lord. So I
yeah.
have favor, and that's a big deal. So
That is a big deal. Yeah,
yeah, so it's like I want them to kind of I don't know, I don't want to say fight for it, but kind of,
yeah, yeah,
to have that pursuit where you're not going to be offended if I say, oh, maybe on the third date you can pick me up, or, whatever it is.
yeah, yeah. I think that's absolutely amazing, and I absolutely love it. So, the last thing that I just kind of want to talk about here. So, outside of all that, because clearly we're Christians, this is a Christian podcast,
Yeah.
and we're both temporarily single moms. Like, how has your journey been raising kids as a single mother? Well,
Yeah.
as a Christian, like
Yeah.
single mom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been such an adventure and such a journey, and I'm so
Yeah.
thankful because, like I said, I have an incredible community of other Christian women, and a lot of them have gone before me and have raised kids in the
Mm-hmm.
Lord. So I'm so thankful for that. And really, for me personally, it's been kind of coming to this realization of I parent with the Holy Spirit, and so I'm not
Mm,
parenting alone
mm-hmm.
in my home. And my boys know, like, that they have a father. Like, obviously they have an earthly father, and then they have a father in heaven, and
Yeah.
so we're going to talk to God about it. So
Yeah.
if a decision needs to be made, it's going to be like, okay, let me talk to your father about it, like, let me talk to God
Right.
about it. um and so um yeah, just it. And another thing, just keeping them like in the church body. And
Mm,
I've learned that it's just taking them along the journey, because I'm not doing it perfectly.
yeah.
And I fail a lot, but I'm going to continue to take my children along the journey, whatever that looks like. So,
Yeah.
for us personally, like we go to church on Sundays, they're there for 2 services, because I volunteer, and then
Yeah.
I lead a group. So guess who's coming with me? Like they're
My
coming
kids.
with me if I have,
Yeah.
um, I was in a mentorship program and they came with me. Um, and so yeah, it's just been kind of finding that ebb and flow of I'm learning and growing in my faith. I became a Christian very, very young. I was 4 when I accepted the
Mm-hmm.
Lord. I didn't grow up in a Christian home, but God became very real to me at a very young age.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was like, in church basically my whole life, went to ministry school, all of the things.
Yeah.
And so I try to pass that on to my children, that it's not just rules, like it's not
Yeah.
just
It's a
rules.
lifestyle.
Yeah, it's who we are. It's the very
Mm-hmm.
essence of our insides, and so we talk about it that way. I
Yeah.
told somebody recently, like, we talk about Jesus like he's a person in the room because we believe he is.
Yeah.
um and practically it looks like reading those Bible stories to my kids, or putting on a kids podcast. Like we'll listen to
Yeah.
kid Bible story podcasts and stuff like that. And
That's a podcast?
there's so many podcasts, girls. There,
Wow.
yes. Now I'm like going to lose my brain of all of the ones we listen to. There's one called oh my gosh, I have the Bible of it too, Moments with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Moments with Jesus podcast. 10 out of 10 recommend. um they literally tell stories of Jesus, but
Mm-hmm.
they describe it like you're there. It's really sweet.
Wow.
So they'll say, like, imagine you're in a boat and you feel the mist of the ocean water, and it's really, really good. And then Truth Seekers is another really great one, and they tell
Mm.
Bible stories and they have questions at the end and stuff. So um yeah, we do that. I homeschool, right? So
Yeah.
we are like, here's a podcast. And I used to have a 30-minute commute to
Mm-hmm.
work into their school, so we would just put a podcast in like,
Yeah.
and
That is
listen to
right.
that. But and then lastly, just making sure that my cup is filled up. um
Yeah.
so my quiet time does not look like what it looked like before I had kids, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
even look like what it looked like when I was married.
Yeah.
And so finding those little pockets of time where I can get into the word and I can pray. For me, I like to journal,
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm getting filled up with the Spirit and getting filled up with the word, so I can I can flow that
Right.
on to my children. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a hot mess in motherhood.
Right.
Like, I'm going to
Oh, me
be
too.
short with them and
Yep.
impatient and all of that. So
Yeah.
it's been a journey. And it is hard because I am the only parent in the home currently,
Mm-hmm.
um who is serving Jesus. And so I do feel this kind of like countering what they may be
Mm.
exposed to elsewhere,
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and making up for that, um but taking the comfort that, like, I'm not alone. I am doing it with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And just trusting him with them, like really trusting, like, okay, God, you love them more than I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been kind of the journey so far.
Yeah, that is amazing. I think that that's really good because those are some of the things I do with my kids. And so now when I'm serving at church, they're like, "Oh, can I help? Can I help? Can I help?" And so it's like,
Yes.
"Yep, you can when you can because you teach them that early, that servitude is a part, it's not an obligation because I don't never ever want them to feel obligated, but I
Right.
want them to have that freeness and that openness in their heart for it at a young age. And so that when they do get older, it's not like oh, I gotta go to church again because I
Right.
can remember growing up, my parents did the best that they could with what they had and I love them for that. But sometimes I would feel like we were kind of like forced
Yeah.
to like get into this, and I was in the choir and I couldn't even sing. And I'm like, where did this even come from? And so it's like, still raising them up in that stature, but also still giving them that freedom. And so I know, like, my prayer is like, Lord, just allow my children to have a heart after you
Yeah.
all the days of their lives,
Yeah.
because it's going to become a point. I'm not perfect. And like you said, it's just me and God and things like that. And by the grace of God, I have my church family and I have support and things like that from all over, which is amazing. But I think that that's really good because I do some of the same things. It was something that you said that really caught my attention at the end of it. And we're getting ready to wrap up because I know we both have to kind of relax and go to bed.
Mm.
Um, Snap, I forgot what it was that you said. It really, really caught my I guess it didn't catch my attention that much. I can't remember what it was. but, but that was good.
Yay.
You know how when the preacher's preaching, that was good, and you
Yeah.
just like, what did he just say?
Oh yeah.
Oh, but that's amazing. I think that that's such a beautiful thing for what you're doing, and man, I just love it. Like, I'm so inspired by your story. I'm even more inspired, like, by your boundaries and the
Oh,
things that you have going on in your life. It's just really um encouraging. And I just really believe that the Lord is gonna bless you,
oh, thank
because
you.
of that. It's hard out here being a single parent. It's hard out here being a parent.
Yeah.
But
Oh, it
I
is.
say it's 10 times harder being a single parent. I don't think that people really can understand and um be able to comprehend the things that we go through
Yeah.
as single parents. We can talk about it and things like that, but you'll never be able to understand until you are in our shoes.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, Monica, you have a podcast.
I do. Yes, I do. I
Yes.
know. I
Can
know.
you share that?
Yeah. I started it in December of
Yes.
2021. So it's very new. It is the Arise podcast with Monica.
Mm,
Um, and it's everywhere you can find podcasts. But yeah, I started it and I started blogging many, 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 many years ago and then
mhm,
continued it and then do Instagram stuff. And it's something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. And I finally, and you were part of my inspiration.
mhm.
But
Okay,
yeah, I was
good.
excited to just dive in. So, um,
Yeah.
Arise comes from the story about I always mess up his name. I always say
Mhm.
Jairus or Jairus, but it's in the Bible. And
Yeah.
Jesus raises her from the dead. And one of the translations, well, many of the translations, he says Talitha koum or Talitha kumi, which means little girl arise.
Mm.
And so I kind of taken that on to all across all my platforms of everything that I do is with that theme of arise because that's what I feel like Jesus says to me. Jesus tells
Yeah.
me, little girl, get up, little girl, arise, and we have to do that as single mothers and just as women, right? Just as children of God,
Yeah.
just rising up from the ashes, rising up from the muck, and so yeah, I share stories, dating stories, single motherhood stories. I have some of my friends come on and talk about their journeys, and it's been great. I mean, it's encouraging to me. I don't know. You probably feel like that too. Like
Yeah.
when I have other people on, I'm like, "Oh, you're ministering to my heart."
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm really really enjoying the process of doing it. I'm excited for, with just what the Lord's going to use with it, because sometimes obedience is hard, but I know there's greatness on the other
Mhm.
side of it. So
Yes, it is. And I've learned that the hard way. I joke, but I'm kind of getting away from joking. I used to always joke around and say, Jesus, I'm that little rebel one. That's me, but I'm kind of trying to get away from that because I don't want to continuously speak that over myself.
yeah,
But I am the one that has learned stuff the hard way, and experience is a hard teacher. It's
yeah.
never one you want to go through, and I'm learning even as the years have gone by. I'd rather just learn from you, sister. What
Right.
did you do? So what happened? Because I just rather just learn from you and not make those same mistakes, because
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
is definitely a hard teacher, and I don't have time for this to keep going around the mountain and go around.
yeah.
This is not the merry-go-round. We're not finna keep going round and round and round. like I just rather just learn from you,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So this has been an amazing episode. I thank you so much for coming on. I'm not gonna hold you any longer. It's already been like 46 minutes, so you have
No, it's okay.
homeschool and stuff to get ready for and tomorrow. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Again, she said that the name of her podcast was Arise by Monica. You can find that on any major platform where podcasts are held. And if I may say, if I'm speaking out of turn, let me know. Majority, please. You can probably find it on not probably. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify and Google Podcasts as well, if you have those, because those are got your Android users and your iPhone users. A simple, easy place for you to find her podcast. And you guys, my name is Clarion Brown. I am the host and founder of Dear Single Mama Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Dear Single Mama Podcast, also on Facebook at Dear Single Mama Podcast. Also, the website is www.dearsinglemama.com, where you can find our merch and other episodes as well. Make sure you guys please share this out. Go check out Monica's podcast as well. Show her some love. Leave a 5-star review and subscribe. And also leave me a 5-star review if anything resonated with you from this podcast. Thank you so much, Monica. It was truly a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I loved it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, guys. Until next time, I am Clarion Brown, and I will be listening and hearing and looking out for you on the next episode.